Okay, everyone, just before this episode starts, please click the subscribe button. Basically, it just helps us get found by more people who listen to the podcasts if you click the subscribe button. And of course, it doesn't cost you anything. It literally takes 1 second. So please go and do that. Really appreciate that. You can also listen to these episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can support and get access to early access to all the episodes that we do and all the interviews we do by supporting us on Patreon. So go to patreon.com/thelegitpodcast. The link is below in the description. And finally, if you could follow us on social media, that'd be brilliant. Instagram, it's The Legit Podcast, and Twitter, it's The Legit Podcast. So links will be below as well to that. Enjoy this episode. Right, we're good to go, mate. We're live.
Is it Pajak?
Yeah.
Jack.
Pajak, yeah.
Well,
It's Pajak, actually.
Pajak?
Yeah, my dad's Polish.
Is it?
Yeah. It means spider when it's translated.
Does it?
Yeah, genuinely, like, yeah. We just say Pajak. To be honest, our family down south, half of them say Pajak. Up here, we say Pajak. So there's no real right or wrong way, so I can't get pissed off if someone says it wrong because we just changed it anyway. Because no one could say Pajak.
If you were in the Marines, you'd have some random nickname now. Anyone who's got the the surname Webb just gets called Spider.
Yeah.
So you maybe would have been called Spider if you're in the Corps. But anyway, mate, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, mate.
Me and Thomas spoke about you for about a year, trying to get you on just because of the fantastic work you've done really with Redmen TV, and it's obviously something me and Tom are aspiring to kind of get the size of you guys. But I think mostly just I'm fascinated with people who've turned a passion into the job. I love that saying, find a job you love and you never work a day in your life. And from the outside, it seems like you've done a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, I think we have. The idea was probably created 13 years ago now, so we've been doing it online for probably 10. 2010 was when we started making videos, and we were working full time and doing it on the side until about 2014. No, 2013. Paul went full time actually, for fucking no money whatsoever. He worked for me in the tavern company on Smithdown Road, the restaurants, the one that does the brekkies.
Lived there. Well, I used to live there. Yeah.
So I was the manager there for 7 years and used to run the one.
Refillable teas, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. Used to run the one in Altrincham and the one in town as well for the area manager, but GM'd that one. So Paul was like a barman for us, and so we got him on 20 hours a week. So we did 20 hours a week on Redmen. And then eventually we got to the point where we could just give him 40 hours a week on Redmen, fucking Aldi Beans level pay, you know what I mean? It's not Heinz, and I don't think we're still on Heinz now, to be honest with you. I'm not anyway, Paul might be. But so we started it together, and then we just cracked on and worked full time for ages, doing 5, 10, 15, 20 hours a week on top of your full-time job, just doing something because you enjoy doing it. It's just that conversations that we were having in pubs and stuff anyway, and the idea was to just basically try and make it a full-time job. In fact, that wasn't even the idea was just to have fun, and then the opportunity kind of presented itself and we managed to monetize it.
It sounds that I think it's always hard to think of how things were back then, because now you think fan channels and fan reactions and just a huge part of football now. But in 2010, I'm trying to think what it was like. Was that
we were the first ever fan channel?
Oh yeah,
by 2 years or something.
Really?
Yeah. So Paul always describes it as because it was all Paul's idea. I was just dragged along, by the way, and I think I've told you this before, Andy. And Paul and a mate of ours, Aubrey, had the idea in the pub years and years ago, and Paul did not theatre but film and stuff at university, so he's always had a passion for putting things on video, and he wanted to be a director and all that type of stuff. So he used to drag us into these short films that he'd do for Channel 4 and do little bits on YouTube. If you search hard enough, there's some terrible videos of us on YouTube, and not even just the Redmen ones, absolutely terrible videos. So yeah, we just started making stuff, and we're best mates, so he wanted to just do it with me and then have a conversation. But we started off, we scripted everything.
Really,
fully scripted everything. You cannot find that on YouTube now. That stuff's gone. But that stuff's gone because the world's changed, and stuff that you could say 10 years ago you can't say now. And we've watched them things back and gone, fucking hell, we were bad dickheads. You're not allowed to say that, and just because the world's changed, you know what I mean? So
well, you're not dickheads, are you? Just at that time, you just no one knows any better type thing. It's
and
just,
there's people out there that will search that up and look to ruin you for stuff like that now. So it's not.
It happened with the Kevin Hart thing, didn't it? When he got knocked back from
the Oscars.
Was it the Oscars?
Yeah, I think it was.
He'd said something about gay people, I think.
Yeah,
hadn't he,
I can't remember the exact thing. Yeah, he got.
But he was quite. I respected him a lot because when it first got pulled up, he apologised, and then it got pulled up again about 5 years later, and he said, "I'm not apologising again. I've apologised once, but you go round. You can go on forever, couldn't you? But I get what you mean. So it's
like tweets that get pulled up after like a certain amount of years, isn't? Do you know what I mean? It's like I think that was probably one of them. I think that was a Kevin Hart. I think it was a tweet, wasn't it, or something?
Must have been, yeah.
If City can get off after 5 years, like anything longer than 5 years ago should be inadmissible to use against you now, shouldn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Brilliant, that. Oh, yeah, it's a mad one because you could. I guess it links as well into the kind of the Black Lives Matter thing that's just gone on now and things that happen in years to come. And I kind of had a bit of a. I remember losing about 200 followers on Twitter. Not that I'm fucking bothered, like, but again, by having an opinion, and my just opinion was you can't just keep on changing things that we don't like. Yeah, it's a depressing and horrible sometimes. Our British history is fucking horrible at times, what we've done. But hopefully we can educate ourselves. You can't just delete everything as much as we want to. And
nor should you. I don't think, because I've been to Auschwitz, you know what I mean? I find that fascinating. And I think when I was there, I was a bit like, fucking hell, I'm so glad that I came here now. Like, me and my wife went away before we were married, and I was like, I really want to go to Auschwitz, want to go to the salt mines in Krakow and all that type of stuff. And I said, right, we'll go to Auschwitz that day. And she went, that's my birthday, Chris. I went, okay, fair enough, we won't go that day, but we'll go another day. But I think if you don't keep those things, history can repeat itself, and you've got to realise that, what got you to where you are today is everything that you went through, experiences wise, what you've lived through, the relationships that you've had, they all make you the person that you are, 100%. Don't they? So don't forget about them, don't brush them under the carpet. People ask you about them, be honest about it and say I was wrong. It's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes.
It's like you said, I listened to the podcast you guys done, it was like Chris Moyles was on Radio 1 like saying the word gay, like calling people gay on it, and it's like, God, you imagine saying that now if you like had a pop at someone and says, "Oh, that's gay, that you can't." You don't do it. But again, when I was growing up, I used to always say it because that was what you said. Oh, that's gay, that. Yeah. I've got nothing against people who are gay, but that was just.
My thing is now, like, and I've gone on record, and I had a big, massive kick-off in 2013-14 about calling Chelsea fans rent boys, like, and that for me. The thing that I found that hurt the most there is that I had offended people. Like, I know in my heart of hearts that I didn't mean it in the way that it was taken, but that doesn't excuse the fact that I've still offended people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So and I've said this loads and loads of times, and I don't need to keep apologising, but I also feel the need to keep apologising at the same time. Is that, like, I meant it like they'd just go anywhere for money. I didn't realise that it was a homophobic stereotype. Now that's on me, you know what I mean? I didn't know that was the case, but that doesn't. I should have been better educated, and now I am. And that's the thing. Regardless, I've offended people, so apologise. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. If you've offended someone, apologise. It's not hard.
It always makes me nervous whenever we sort of go down this route, do you know what I mean? Because you just never know, do you know what I mean? As mental as that is, like, I always think, like, with comedians, I think, like, if a comedian had said that word in just talking, because they're classed as a comedian, it's like, oh, you shouldn't be offended, because, like, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right, do you know what I mean? It's like, but because of what the circumstances were with you, it's like do you know what I mean?
That's what I think still was so crazy about it, and like what you're saying about when you first started off and stuff, and it's like, I mean this in the nicest possible way, you're just fans as well. Absolutely. Like, you're not
still
like,
are just fans.
Yeah, you aren't like, you're not managing that football club. You've got, like, do you know what I mean? So it's like the way you're saying comedians get kind of let off a bit because that's what they're. But yet you've got to kind of almost stand trial. It's like, well, hang on. He's just trying to entertain people as well.
You've got a responsibility to your audience, though, and that's what I think I've realised. And look, loads of people like us, and just as many people probably dislike us, and that's actually mentally quite difficult to deal with if you're the type of person maybe that I am, who I think all of us naturally just want to please people all the time and people to like them. At the end of the day, I think most people are like that. There's very few go really far in business who are just business wankers, and they like to be that. That's part of their persona, and that's never really been part of mine. I just want everyone to like me, but people dislike it because all of a sudden you get to this stage where you're quite big, and whether people like it or they don't, they see it in the timeline and you piss them off. Like, if you're a Liverpool fan who doesn't like us, people, your mates might, and they might retweet it, and then you just might just go, fucking hell, why am I seeing this prick on my timeline all the time? Like, and it gets to the point where people just dislike you for just being there. And it's like, I'm not doing nothing wrong here. Like, but you are just a fan, and you do have a responsibility to your audience. So, you know, there's a big kick-off at the moment with Arsenal Fan TV. We were talking about it just before, weren't we? Robbie's got 1 million subscribers. Now, things were said on his channel that clearly Robbie didn't say, but it's his channel, and this is the problem. We're not trained. We're just lads who go live because technology is allowing us to go live and do things. Like, this is recorded and edited, and, you know, if someone said something, you just wouldn't put it out. But if you go in live, and Robbie might have 70,000 people watching, and the internet, if you pull that video down, it's gone. Someone's recorded it, someone sent it somewhere, there's no chance. So you just have to be so careful with what you're saying, and that the problem is, we're not careful because we're not trained, and what people like about us is that we're real, and we tell the truth. Now, there's a line, of course, but when you're just being you're not always thinking. No. Like, I talk in a room like this now, I don't really feel the cameras to the sides. I'm just talking to two mates, like, or two lads, and all of a sudden I'm with Paul in a room with a camera on us. It's just me and him there. Forget the cameras are there, and you're just chatting. You didn't realise that you're streaming to 2,000-3,000 people at a time. You can literally just forget about it, and then,
especially
like,
you've been mates with someone, like, say, you 10-20 years or something used to, and
20 years now, yeah, it's from school. And then all of a sudden, like, I got people like messaging me, like, I said this story the other day on the podcast. We were talking about the worst shirt, or the worst name on a shirt you've ever had, and an ex-girlfriend of mine got me one with PF1 on the back, right? And it was an outfield shirt, so for a start, 1 on the back's terrible. She used to call me poo face messing around, so she put PF1 on the back, right? And I'm talking to Paul, and we're out doing this podcast. 3 hours later, I go on my phone, and fucking 100 people calling me PF1, and I'm like, fucking hell, like, you're like poo face, and I'm like, shit, I forgot I just said that. What am I doing? And I've just done it again.
Yeah, now everyone from our subscribe.
Also, mate, as well, is like, when, like you were just saying before, where, like, we feel the same if, like, someone says something negative about anything, because what they don't see is they don't see you, like you said before, like that little office that you had, like with no heating, and like that effort that has gone in of those, like, 2007 to 2013, 14, so 6 years of just not being paid for it, all that hard work, a bit like ourselves, like literally just, this, it costs us money every single time we come here. So people don't see that behind the scenes of there, all that effort, so that when someone does say something on YouTube, or does say something about, I'm not necessarily talking about if you've said something wrong, but just anything, then it does hurt you, so
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
We can get a video with 500 comments, and 498 of them are bosh, and I'll be lying awake at night thinking about the 2 that fucking were negative. That's just the way that I'm wired. I think other people are different. They can switch off to it. I can't. I'm like, fucking hell, why have you thought that? And I'm like going back there at, like, and Paul always says to me, don't look at Twitter after 10 o'clock at night. Don't look at the YouTube comments pretty much after 8 o'clock at night, because they're just going to be wild, and it's just going to piss you off. And the mad thing is, you let it bleed into your personal life. Like, all of a sudden, I'm maybe, like, I showed you one on my watch before, didn't I?
Yeah.
I sat in a meeting, looked at my watch, there was a notification calling me a scouse bastard. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, that meeting didn't go as well after the notification. If I'm sat there playing with my kids, and you glance at the phone, and someone says something to you on Twitter, like, all of a sudden, my kids are the ones who are feeling the brunt of my bad mood, and that's not right, is it?
No.
And that's where something needs to be done about all of this stuff, but no one sees that. They just see a lad talking about footy.
Yeah.
And
it's such a powerful point. That, I found that myself with the just, having people again going up on the Black Lives Matter. I think ultimately people want to see positive change, but then you end up getting into debates of how that comes about. And I obviously have my view of I didn't agree with the damage and the vandalism and the pulling down of statues. And then people have said, oh, well, this needs to happen, it's something strong. And again, I'm with my little girl, and I only see her 50-50 because I'm not with her mum, and yet I'm spending, like, hours of my time when I could be sitting there with my little girl,
arguing with someone
I don't even know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And an argument you can't win.
Yeah.
Not in 240 characters or whatever it is. I mean, it's not happening, is it? You can spend hours and hours, and the thing is,
such a good point.
None of you are going to win that argument at any point.
No.
But why do we do it? Like, I don't understand it.
No, I did have a moment. Funny you said that, and I thought, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've got Alba sitting there, she's fucking this amazing little girl, and you're arguing with some fucking idiot from you don't even know who it is, and so it's like I say, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to switch off from it. And the big thing I think as well, I know we're skipping ahead a bit, but at what point did you think where it's gone from us two talking about footy to now we've got a responsibility? You mentioned before, at what point did you think, actually, you know what, we need to maybe go back and make sure we haven't said anything that isn't suitable for times now? At what point did it get to a point where you think, oh fucking hell, God, remember when we first started off and you might have said the word gay or something, like, you know, was there a point where you thought we're getting a bit big now, or we need to start thinking twice about what we should say? Or
I think certainly when like sponsors and stuff get involved, and that sounds terrible to say, but like you have to think about it and stuff, then, don't you? But I think for us, it was after the Chelsea Rent Boys stuff. It was more like, fucking hell, like I got the brunt of that, but Paul felt even worse because he was the one who put it out. And like, that's my best mate, and he's watching me go through something. Like, I went into my job and ended up telling the owner of the restaurant, I was like, look, I've got to tell you about this. This has happened. Like, I walk down the street and people would be like, Rent Boys, and I'd be like, fucking hell, lad, this is literally the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. Like, but some people loved it, and I felt sick. Like, every time someone mentions it, or those videos go round, and they still go round every time we play Chelsea. We play them next week. It's going to go round, you know what I mean? And I feel sick every time I see it. Some people really love it. I think it's embarrassing. Like, I feel terrible. I wrote a letter to Kick It Out campaign because they got in touch through the club and everything, like apologising, explaining my side of the situation and stuff. But you can't just keep saying it, and it can't keep hanging over me. I've got it. Like, I have drawn a line under it, like, but it is a part of who I am. So every time I go into a show, I do kind of think about making sure that I don't make that mistake again. Like, we had the landscape was so different because when we set it up, I took a personal loan out, $5,000 I think it was, to buy the website.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I remember having a conversation with my wife. I was like, I want to do this. We're going to try and make people pay money to listen to us. And she's like, you're an idiot, lad. and like, we did it. We paid for the website. And we blew the $5,000 on the website, and the idea was you paid £2 a month and you got 3 scripted shows at the time it was. And 200 people signed up. And I was like, right, that's £400 a month. Fuck, we're in shit's creek here now. Like, this is not going to go well and all that. And just at the same time that we went behind the paywall, the Anfield Wrap started. And we were like, no, they're so good. And it's free, and we're behind this little fucking paywall asking people to pay money, and no one knows about it. And like, the shows would take, like, the technology 9 years ago, like, Paul would literally be editing for nearly 24 hours because we were recording on tapes, and like, then you'd have to play the tape to record it to get onto a computer. So each tape would be an hour or 2 hours long, so that would take an hour or 2 hours to get the footage into the computer from one camera, then another one from another camera, then you'd have to manually cut it up and all that type of stuff. And so we were recording, and we'd make so many mistakes where you just didn't record the sound. Like, I'd get out of his at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get a message saying, no audio, lad. And I'm like, right, I'm on my way back. I'll swing by McDonald's, I'll get us some scran, and we'll go and do it all again. Like,
that's what Tom was saying before, though. Like, that dedication, mate. Fucking hell. Like, so then when people you have got, like, kind of haters, now you think, fuck, these haven't just turned up and went, oh yeah, look at us now. It's fucking, there's years and years of graft. Fucking.
And what year was this when you went behind a paywall?
2011.
So like, you
Netflix
think
Netflix wasn't in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
No one even knew about subscription models then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no one even is willing. Like, I think even more.
We nicked our terms and conditions off Love Film.
Did you?
The ones who used to post your DVDs.
Yeah,
Really, yeah.
I spent hours going through their 30-page terms and conditions, copying and pasting it all and getting rid of Love Film and
That's
putting
awesome,
the Redmen TV in. And all that.
Yeah, that was Love. I remember getting Love Film as well. Yeah, it was quality, and then you had to send them back, didn't you?
Yeah,
Literally
yeah.
they give you like return envelope, didn't they? Yeah.
That was the only subscription model we could
Where
find.
did this come from then? Like, I'm fascinated tonight, mate. I'm genuinely like got about a million questions I want to ask you. Where does this idea of, because again it sounds so normal now, but anyone listening needs to remember back in 2010 no one said let's listen to, people will want to hear us. Where did that idea come from?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. Like, YouTube back then wasn't YouTube as it is now, was it? It was like cat videos and fail video compilations
Like
and all
prank
that.
video,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was all that type
Yeah.
of stuff. So, like, long-form content didn't exist on YouTube at the time. And we were doing, you know, making videos. Like, I think one of our first videos was a Keep You Up World Cup with balloons. Like, you know, it wasn't really even, it was like the summer for a start. It would be about the 2010 World Cup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then we started, like, what we started and what we are now are two completely different things. We started as like a bit more of a joke, like just having a laugh about footy. Like, we'd have wigs, we'd get dressed up, we'd fucking just, I don't even know what it was, to be honest with you. I don't know why anyone watched it, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I've got no idea. I'll show you some of the videos, they're atrocious.
Can I can find them actually in a bit.
No, you
but-
can't, they're all private.
But where did that come from then? So okay, you've got this idea and it's a bit mad and you're thinking, what the fuck? Where did it come then? Actually, you know what, let's put it behind the payroll, people will actually like...
I think what we did, it's so long ago now, I think what we did is we might have tried to sell a one-off season ending special at the, like, maybe at the end of the 2010-2011 season, and we sold a few and we posted like DVDs out. We made them all as DVDs and we sold them out. I think we sold 100 or 200 DVDs and we're like, oh, people do actually want this stuff. What can we do? And then we thought about, like, well, maybe people, £2 a month's not a lot. If we make 3 shows a week, you know, there's, 12 shows for £2. It's still less than a pint. You know, hopefully people would buy into it and get onto it. And what we quickly realised is, you know, Paul is and always was the creative lead on Redmen, and most of the ideation comes from Paul. I run the business side of things because I've got more of that type of a background. So Paul then was like, right, I want to make this content, and we do some free stuff on YouTube and treat it as an advertising platform, and we'll put all the good stuff behind the paywall. And then what quickly happened is Paul was getting really annoyed, because I think when you're as creative as he is, you want as many people as possible to see your work. And all of a sudden he's pouring hours and hours into editing stuff and only 200 people are seeing it. And from that point of view, it's like, yeah, we're making buttons, but he's more asked about people seeing the stuff. And that's when it veered off into heavy on YouTube and keep the paywall. And try and drive people with loads of free content that they actually feel like, are you providing so much free stuff that will come and support you? More of a what is now a Patreon style thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's so hard, that deciding like that route, because like with like the views, ultimately they're not going to pay your mortgage, are they? Do you know what I mean? And so like it's so difficult to decide, like, because you want as many people to see the stuff, like you just said. But then, like, ultimately, you know, you've got, it is a business, and like you've got mortgages and bills and kids and that sort of thing, and like it's such a balancing act. Like we were talking about this just only the other day about like Patreon and things like that, and like, you know, putting new content out and maybe thinking of going down a Patreon route, but like ultimately just love doing this. Do you know what I mean? So like
something you'd like to do, but again, you love doing this as well. The job, it's just a balance, and that's why, mate, I'm not just saying this because you're here, mate, but I've said it to Tom as well. I'm so inspired by what you've done, for not only being the first one to think this might be a good idea and people might want to watch us, our reactions and stuff, but then turning it into a business, because again, it's not like you had anyone else to go, oh, look at Arsenal Fan TV, they've made a business out of it. This is just you two going, you know what, we're a business mind, let's try and do this. And fucking fair play to you, man. I do think it's fucking awesome, and I love to see when people, you know, because nothing's going to get handed to you, is it?
No.
You've just went, fuck this, right, come on, let's have a go.
I think there was a point for me anyway. I left my job the week my first kid was born. So that like 2 weeks where I was on paternity leave my boss said, you can have your paternity and then you can leave. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I'd worked for him for like 7 years, so he was brilliant with me. And he'd let us do all the Redmen stuff on the side, and he wasn't asked. And we'd gone through the Rent Boy stuff, and he wasn't asked. He was like, look, I know you'd meant it as a mistake, blah, blah, blah. So he was brilliant. And then I started, like, I'd moved out about 2 months before and just took the plunge and was like, you know what? And to be fair, I'm still not earning as much money now as I was in the restaurants.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
6 years later. You know, but it doesn't matter because
You're doing something you
I'm
love.
doing it for myself,
Yeah.
and I'm doing something that I enjoy every day. Like, I used to wake up, as much as I loved working in restaurants. There were days when you wake up, fuck this shit. I just can't be arsed with this. I get now and I'm like, right, we're going the footy, or we're going.
I'll drop in, mate. At this point, just very quickly off subject. My little stint on Celebrity MasterChef worked in a restaurant, mate. Fuck me, I've got so much respect for people who work in the restaurant industry. After my fucking 2 hours script behind there, we had Paddy on, who's a chef, and I said to him, mate, fuck me, anything's doing a restaurant. It's only when you've been on that side of it you got so much respect for people.
It's graft. It's absolute
fucking
graft. Like, and the stuff that like the government's going through and everything now, where they're like saying, look, we'll give you 20% off your bills and all that. It's not enough for restaurants. What the problem restaurants have at the moment, for me anyway, and I am passionate about this because I love cooking. I've got loads of mates in the restaurants and pub industry, and it's too fucking cheap. Like, McDonald's come in and they've killed off restaurants, and everyone wants a meal for a tenner, and that's not right. Like, you've got to pay for all your crockery, all your rent, all your overheads. 30 fucking staff in some restaurants at the same time, and your food, and then you're still supposed to make a living. Like, it's so difficult, and it's like 12-14 hour days. It's absolutely mental.
And the customers are so critical as well, and like there's such a high expectation, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? You just have to get it wrong once, and then you're fucked.
Some twat on whatever it is, TripAdvisor or something. It's like, this is shit. It's like, hang on a minute. Like, 30 people working, busting the balls here, trying to get your food on a plate in 8 minutes or something because you like a Macchies.
Yeah, it's a joke. I seen a good thing on, I think it was Independent Liverpool posted, and they said, like, not only go and support your independence after all this is coming to an end, COVID-19, but don't be a dick. You know, if something is a little bit late, don't be fucking posting, I've just had dinner here and it's fucking shit. Like, fucking give people a break. You know, these people haven't been working for 3 months, and it's important, isn't it? Because, like you say, coming back to a little bit like what you said there, and I've done things in the past. Just because you say one little wrong thing or post one wrong tweet does not mean you are a fucking knobhead. Do you know what I mean? If you bring out one bit of fucking bit of cold food or something, doesn't mean the restaurant's shit. Do you know what I mean? People have off days, make mistakes, say wrong things and stuff, and unfortunately it's this world, isn't it, where there's no, like, in the middle. Is that you're either fucking what a twat or he's amazing him.
Yeah,
there's no, like,
that is it.
There's no fucking
middle ground. Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Patreon?
Hopefully, I mean, mate, the goal is, again, you got to fucking aim big. I always tell everyone to. I'd love to have some sort of Joe Rogan-esque kind of fucking studio. And it's, obviously, there's loads of fucking podcasts now, isn't there? But it'd be just great to interview kind of just, we'll just base it on the Joe Rogan. That's a pretty big ask.
Like, we're so lucky with this space because, like we said before, like, and Rob listens to it, so we just rock up in this office, just take over, and it's a brilliant space. It really is. But I feel like we're getting to the point now where there is enough sort of traction to maybe get somewhere ourselves, and then the question then comes, okay, so you get somewhere, your own space. What's the difference to now? Ultimately, there isn't much difference really. It's just something that's our own space. So that's like the next step, and then you think, okay, so. I suppose, mate, you probably went through the exact same thing. You think, okay, so if you've got a bit of an audience now, can something come from it in business-wise to help pay for your own time and maybe potentially, equipment and all that stuff? So there's that.
Saying that, your mic's a Bosch, by the way.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, but have you seen our fucking camcorders? They're like porno camcorders from the 90s or something.
Fucking pornos we were recorded on these. Is that all, isn't it? But so it's like, and then there's so much. You see, there's so much content out there. There's like so many. You only have to look at YouTubers now, where everything's demonetized. Like, we just have to say the word cunt, and then YouTube demonetizes. So there's no money from advertising there. The other way is obviously like through podcast advertising. We're lucky we had Liverpool 1 a few times. So there's that. And then there is what a lot of YouTubers do and things like that is merchandise. So there's that. So there's a few different ways that we can... But
It'd be awesome, mate, just to have a little office where you kind of had it kitted out yourselves and, you said to people, look, come down here and stuff. And maybe that's a kind of ego thing to have your own little space. But I think what we've been guilty of, me and Tom, Tom, super working hard. He's fucking holding down his job and he's living his life. And I've got my little girl and doing the speaking and, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like we haven't kind of put in like 100% effort. Like, some podcast and YouTube, it's like working at it kind of 10 hours a day type thing. We don't really...
Oh, we just fucking wing everything.
We just fucking, and so we've not really put in the graft, have we? In that, we have obviously worked hard at it, but I mean, we've not said, right, we need to make this a full-time thing. So I think maybe in the future it would be quite nice to take it a bit more serious and say, right, let's get an office. Right, come on, I'm going to maybe hit this, however many hours a week, and let's try and really... But like, a bit like the way you started up until now, it's just been fucking cool to thankfully get people like yourself.
It's so different now, though. Like, I'd hate to start something now because there's so much, and it's so... It's not that it's easy to do, but everybody's got access to the equipment now, I think. And certainly with, like, COVID, and we were talking about it before we recorded, about like Zoom and just the ability now to just have a chat with someone. Now the difference is I don't like Skype interviews. Like, I've done loads of them, and I don't really like Skype podcasts because I need that interaction where you can look in someone's eyes and you can see them. Like, even just the point where the conversation just doesn't flow, you step over each other and you're like, this isn't right, it's not a conversation. And like, we're too lazy and we do too much content to edit that out. Like, some people would edit them bits out, and we're like, we haven't got time, we're doing like 70 shows a week or something, like, you know what I mean, at some points. But I think it's so much harder to break in and be different to everybody. It was easy for us, there was no one there.
That's why, again, I'm fascinated, mate, because again, if you start a podcast now, you could go, right, let's have a podcast. I seen one come up the other day, an example, and it was, I think 2 people try and get in contact with, I think they say a random name, and it's like, is it 6 degrees or 9 degrees of separation?
2 or 3 degrees.
And they try and... but they say you can know everyone within like 6 people or something. So they try and get to those people. And I think that's quite a cool idea. And there's podcasts on who'd you have round, like your Last Supper type thing, 5 guests, dead or alive. So there's so many ideas, isn't there? And again, that's why I just think it's mad how you've come at this idea when it's that quote, and I fucking love it, I've said it before. It's if you'd said to Henry Ford at the time... if you'd said to people at the time, what could I do or what could I invent to make your kind of transport better, they'd say faster horses. No one would have said a car, because what the fuck's a car? No one knows. It took just something outside the box to go, I know, let's fucking make this thing with an engine and 4 wheels and we'll go. So that's essentially what you guys done. Really?
But there was telly though. That was the thing, and we were trying to be... We knew we could never be TV. It's just funny, actually, we're kind of closer to TV now than we ever have been because of the technology and the advancements in it. But yeah, certainly we wanted to be... We just didn't think that anybody was servicing what football fans wanted, ultimately, whether you live 400, 500 miles away or you live 3 miles away from the stadium. Because Match of the Day can't service Liverpool fans because they've got 55 minutes or an hour and 15 and they need to talk about 20 teams. Whereas we can talk about Liverpool for 12 to 14 hours a week online.
I used to hate that you'd wait up at 10:30 on it and it might be the last game and they'd talk for like 2 minutes and you'd be like, is that it?
Yeah. and back then, like, the club channel was shit.
Yeah.
Like, the club now are fucking on it in everything, like, especially like YouTube and stuff. So we're at the point where we're looking around going, how can we compete with that? You know what I mean? How can we compete with the YouTube side of things that they do? Because they're like the biggest sports thing in Europe now, I think.
Yeah, they're
huge,
aren't they?
Huge. But they're amazing as well. Like, that behind... what is it, behind Anfield? No, what's it called?
Inside Melwood? Or?
Inside Anfield, that's it.
Oh, inside,
that's incredible. Like, no one else can do that but the footy club themselves. Like, and we actually took Redmen to them, and
did you?
It was a pilot. We made a pilot for them originally, and Paul took it in. Like, we filmed it. We had a mate of ours who was working at Toxic TV, and he had a camera at the time, so he came down with a camera. We knew an editor. I think he was a DJ as well, like, and he came down and did the sound for us. we were in about 5 hours ago from Paul. And we did this thing, and we went and filmed outside Anfield. We put this show together, and we took it into LFC TV. Paul took it in, I wasn't there actually. And apparently they loved it. And they basically said, like, we think that's just one presenter. So the X Factor does. And Paul was like, I'm not splitting up the band, like, you know what I mean? It might have been well different if he'd have done that. But so in the end, we sat on the idea for a couple of years, didn't really do anything with it, thought it was going nowhere. And then YouTube got to that stage where we were like, maybe we could do something on YouTube here. And then, so we never even planned to do it on YouTube. We took it to the club first. And sure enough, probably about 6 to 9 months after we'd done it, there was a show that looked decidedly like our pilot turn up on the official club channel. We were like one presenter, basically our set on a sofa with trainers on, which no one on NFC TV, they were all suits or shirts and ties and that.
Really,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Mad that, innit?
That's so funny. Their studio looks... yours is better though, I think. I'd still say...
It's good, like, yeah. The couches are shit though in ours now. We've just thrown them away.
And also, like with YouTube as well, it's so funny because, like, I feel like with YouTube, it's gone through, like, it is one of those platforms that has really stood the test of time. Because I was having a comment, I've said this before, but if you think YouTube, I think was started in 2005, and then I think Google bought it in like 2007, something like that, maybe a bit later than that. But like now, I've got a sister who's 15. And I said to her, "Oh, we're just having a conversation, just going, oh yeah, it's on the TV, it's on ITV." And she was like, "What's ITV?" I was like, I have no idea of terrestrial TV. It's just everything is YouTube, and more so like kids are just watching like everything on YouTube versus terrestrial TV, and like terrestrial TV is dying, you know.
Yeah.
So
I remember, mate, we went down, didn't we? We travelled to the kickoff with True Geordie, and I remember I kind of offended. I didn't offend them, but I think Lawrence made a joke. But I was on his podcast when they were on a little East Ham. They had like this little bomb shelter, and they had me on, and I just had a documentary come out on ITV, and I made a joke about saying, I didn't think it'd ever be on ITV. You know, it's huge or something. And then Lawrence obviously made a joke and was like, well, we get kind of more views than, or YouTube might get more views. He said something about it, and I was thinking, what? Fucking YouTube gets more views than ITV? Because I'm just so late to the game at YouTube, and I didn't realise this True Geordie guy he'd only done about 40 podcasts at this point, and just didn't realise the power behind this kind of phenomenon, which is, you know, and now to the point where I don't even fucking watch ITV or nothing.
No, I mean, I haven't had Sky or Virgin on our house for years, and we got to the point where during the pandemic I was like, this is all coming back and it's all the games are going to be behind thingy, so I was like, I'm going to need to get a Virgin account or a Sky account or something. So we got Virgin in anyway, and like the kids, I'm like, right, here's the kids channel, and she's like, Daddy, what? It won't go off. And I'm like, what won't go off? The advert. I'm like, it's an advert break. There's no skip button. And I'm like, because she's just used to them coming up for 5 seconds, and she sits there and goes, dunk. As soon as it goes down to 0, and it's like every fucking time there's an advert break, it's broken again, Dad. And I'm like, it's just an advert break, you can't skip it, babe.
God, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It must be the same at YouTube.
She does the thing on the even if it's on Netflix, and it's just like skip intro and things like that, just so impatient with wanting the TV to be on. It's just that kind of on demand, innit? Just when I want it. And
my 3-year-old walked up to the telly. She was probably 2 at the time. She walked up to the telly and went, swiped it, and I was like, you can't do that. And I thought, why the fuck can't you do that?
Yeah.
So everything else you can do that. And she's like swiping the telly, and I'm like, it doesn't work like that, babe. It's a telly. That's what this remote's for. But they just pick it up so fast, because you see them on the iPhones and the iPads and that, and she's like, this is the fucking best one. Why doesn't this swipe?
It's mad, isn't it?
What are you doing, Dad? Get a better telly. Like, I'm not walking over there to change the channel like it's the 1980s again. Shut up.
It is mad to think what we used to have to put up with compared to now, isn't it? Like,
even like on demand, like iPlayer, you know, like think we can watch it back. Like, it's crazy, that, isn't it? Like Rob was.
Well, you'd never get. I don't care how good the program is. You just never get something to go right. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, something's on. You couldn't get people to do that now, could you? Because you just go, I'd fucking record it, or I get it on demand, or I watch it tomorrow and catch up, or you.
We had Dom Jolly from Trigger Happy TV on, and when his first show went out, it went out between Fraser and Friends, I think, and it was at the time 2000 when it launched. And because of obviously no iPlayer and all that, look, it was like an event. It like this is the time you got to watch it and end of.
Yeah,
Like if you miss it, you miss it. End of. So it was huge. Trigger Happy TV, huge because of that reason.
I remember around that time. My Saturday night was, and I probably remember it because it was so significant of the week. But
And because it still is.
well,
What is your Saturday night on?
my Saturday night used to be, I'd stay over at my nan's. My mum and dad would have like a date night. I'd sleep at my nan's. The National Lottery, you used to watch that.
Yeah, God.
Remember you used to watch
Lancelot and that?
Yeah.
Are they still going?
And I'm sure Windermere was one of. You tell me, Tom used to watch the lottery.
Yeah, not really. No.
What? How old are you?
27.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 5. Yeah. Oh mate, so
Yeah, I mean, I remember it on. I don't. I don't
mean.
remember it.
No,
like,
you used to watch the
it as a
balls
family, like.
popping out
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
So-
That got like transparent thing. Transparent like
The machine.
Machine.
Machine,
Yeah.
yeah. Fucking hell.
Oh, you meant to be well educated.
I wonder what he thinks we were talking about when we said Lancelot. What did you think we were
No,
talking about?
fucking no idea.
I didn't think so. We used to name the machines.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Yeah.
Because they were all It was run by Camelot, wasn't it? So
Camelot,
they
yeah,
used
of course,
the
yeah,
knights'
yeah.
names
Yeah.
and shit.
Where am I getting Windermere from? What are some of the names? Lancelot.
find This is gold.
This is gold, this, mate. This is gold.
This is-
But, mate,
Sign up for the Patreon.
that used
More on the old lottery machines from the 1990s.
We'll put this behind the paywall.
He's actually Googling
What
it as
am I
well.
typing in here?
What were the lottery machines called?
Yeah, National Lottery machines names.
Okay, this is some content here, isn't it?
This is amazing.
But this was a thing on a Saturday night, and this come in between Arthur Guinevere,
Guinevere, there you go. There's your Windermere.
yeah, and Merlin.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, no one can say that fourth word.
Right, there we are.
Well, interesting.
So that was a thing though. On a Saturday night at like 8 o'clock, I would sit and watch those bloody 7 or 6 or 7, whatever they are, little balls pop out of that machine. I'd then watch, I think Gladiator was on after it. I also remember me Sunday night, I'd watch Heartbeat. Remember that? London's Burning.
Yeah.
I always used to watch only half of London's Burning, get sent to bed. And these were things, they were like rituals in the family household. They would never happen now. Probably live sports, probably the only thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe.
there's not many things with appointments of you anymore. Like it was fed into everything in my school life as well. So like X-Files was on the next day at the breakfast table around in school, or at lunchtime when you got a free or whatever, you're there talking about last night's X-Files.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen no more
No,
now.
of
Like
course
everyone binges them all at different times. So you're like, oh, don't talk about that. I'm 2 episodes behind you.
Yeah.
But that's a whole thing of conversation that I used to talk about with my mates all the time. We very rarely are all on the same thing. Game of Thrones actually was probably one of the ones where everyone watched it that night because they knew that it would get ruined the next day or something like that. So it was X-Files. Friends was one of those things, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I guess that's how, bringing it back into the modern day, that's difficult for you guys then, in the sense of, because you are dealing with live sport, is there then this responsibility or demand now where you've got to get, well I guess that's where your post-match reaction came from, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, a massive help for us there was Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV, because we were doing our thing a certain way. You know, we'd never done like fan cams, they're called, aren't they? That's what everybody knows them as now. We'd never done fan cams. Me and Paul would do ours, but not from the ground, because we felt really nervous about doing it. It's a little bit wool, I can say it like. And so we just felt really nervous about doing it outside the ground. So we'd record ours later and stuff. And then Robbie came on with Arsenal Fan TV, started doing fan cams. And when we started speaking to him, and we thought, you know what, they're getting good views, let's try something like that then, okay. So we give that a little try, and again, really nervous doing it because I've never done anything like that, you know, speaking outside in the public where people are coming past you, trying to interview. If you've ever done Vox Pops anywhere, it's the worst thing. People just ignore you, and it's worse, I reckon, than working for British Gas and people slamming the door in your face when you knock on it or something like that. And that's the same type of thing. Do you want to talk about the game? No, lad, fuck off. Sound. Nice one. And no would have been okay. So that's when we started like hiding, like opposite the cop, instead of like on the walkway where people would just go tit as they walk past you and all that type of stuff. So then we ended up starting doing it, and it took off. But then we started collabing and speaking to all the other fan channels because they started cropping up, and we became mates with them all. Because like YouTube says you should collab with other people. Now we realised that no Arsenal fans really going to subscribe to us, or not in large numbers anyway. But we got to know them, and if you've ever worked in a job where, like, I have to go back to the restaurants because what I did for the best part of 20 years, like, you're an assistant manager and there's 2 assistant managers in the building, like, in the work. So there's someone on your same level who's going through the same shit as you, dealing with the same tit of a boss, who's dealing with the lads who don't give a shit about their job, they're just there for the beer money. You've got shared experience of life. So all of a sudden, Robbie and the lads from Full Time Devils, the Man United channel, and Toffee TV, who've become really good mates of ours, all of a sudden we've got people who are going through exactly the same shit as us, because we didn't have a support network around us. Like, and you know, we'd made loads of mistakes, and we'd tell them, like, don't do it like this because it's shit, it doesn't work. And then Robbie would go, it's actually quicker if you do it like this. And we all started talking to each other, and we're like, okay, maybe we can, like, form a bit of a collective here and become, like, really good mates and work together all the time. And that's kind of where the idea for, like, a fan network came from, which we've never really spoken about too much. But the idea was, like, we're in a position where people want to sponsor shows now, but we can't get in the door. But if we group together and say, you can sponsor all of us at the same time, maybe people will stand up and take notice. And we ended up getting a deal through the door with the help of Ball Street, mates of ours who we'd worked with down south. And they basically managed to get in with Ladbrokes, and all of us got a season sponsorship off Ladbrokes.
That's quality.
That's awesome,
And which individually we just never have been able to do. But they're, like, really, like, genuine mates. Like, they all support different teams. Yeah, I get it. Like, and I don't like the teams and I don't like the fan bases, but they're just lads, you know what I mean? Who love footy, who were going through the same stuff as you. So I thought that was a really interesting dynamic that I never thought when we started that would happen.
And how did Ladbrokes, like, obviously you don't have to go too much into it, but how do they look? Do they look at it in case in a terms of, like, right, this collective is going to reach X amount of people, like, or do they even care about, like, engagement or anything like that, or is it just an overall, like?
Nah, they cared about everything.
Do they?
And that's the thing, like, so we had a full season sponsorship with them probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was, like, views, comments, like, there was a lot of work just getting all the stats every single week together for them, and, you know, and then that's where Ball Street came in. They'd collate a lot of this information for all the different, I think there might have been 7 or 8 channels on it in the end, like. And you know, I don't know how they sold it to them. I wasn't in those deals, but I was part of managing it, as in, like, making sure everyone does the right things and all that type of stuff. And it was a big job for a long time, like. But those kind of things still exist now. You see a lot of them with the 888 bet. You see the same faces, all different clubs and stuff. Now, it's not us, and I don't know who's involved in it, but it's the same type of thing. They, as a brand, I think, wanted to own football fans media, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, now, they didn't renew, so maybe it didn't work, but
it's a good idea for them, isn't it?
Great.
Like, what
Yeah,
on, mate.
I was going to say, it's great fan power to know that you just come together and you just kind of work with such a huge business like that.
Yeah, and there's loads of them now.
Yeah.
And there's loads of people, look, and everyone, you know, it's mad because, like, I remember when we were trying to get the first load of sponsorships, and I'd go out to businesses, or Paul would go out to businesses and be like, look, this is it, and they'd be like, well, you have to do this, this and this, and we go, no, sorry, like, the money's good, but that's not who we are, and that's not what we do. And we got to a point where our first major sponsor was a company called Mondo Goal. Now, you've heard of DraftKings. They were essentially the same as DraftKings. I think DraftKings may have bought them down the line, I'm not sure. But we got speaking to a guy, he watched our show. I'm not sure if he was a Liverpool fan, he was just a football fan who'd seen us. And he approached us, and I was like, look, this is what we think. And he's like, okay, well, you do it. You tell me what you want to do. So we went away and worked on a brief and went, we think this will deliver good numbers. And he was made up with it. Like, we've got it. We did it as a trial for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then he signed up for the season with us, and we just made daft content. But that's the thing, when, and I it baffles me this all the time, because I think about it a lot, is that, like, brands want you to do it their way, but when you're a fan and you know your audience, you have to be able to say, no, that doesn't fit for us, and just turn that money down.
It can be hard though if you
if you're struggling.
Yeah,
absolutely. But then we have to, like, okay, there are places where you go, okay, we'll go that far, but most of the time it's a case of, nah, I'm not doing that. That's bullshit. I don't believe in that for a start. And it's a case of, look, let me do it and you'll have a better result. And if you don't like the results, we don't renew. So we quite often go to companies like, look, we'll do it this way. If you trust us, we'll do it this way. And I'll say to them, and I'll mean it. We'll do it for a month. And if you don't like the results after a month, I'm not wanting to tie it into 6 months or a year or not. And if you like it, let's renew. I remember we did one with a company called Tokyo Time. Paul, who runs the company, brilliant. And it got to the point where the first few months were brilliant. I'm like, I want repeat business. I don't want to have to go out every month trying to find a new sponsor. I want something that works for you and works for our audience. So if they can get a discount code, if they like the products, if it fits in. Like, these were caps and I thought they were really good. And after a few months, he went, it's not really working for us. Like, sounds, well, we didn't sign a contract because if it's not working for you, it's not working for me either. I'm not going to carry on doing something and try and take money off you for the next 12 months because we signed something way back when. It's not working, just walk away. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair play to you as well.
Was there a time, mate, when I know you walked away from your job, was it 2013, 14? Was there a time where you thought, do you want that, right, that we're onto something here?
Yeah, yes and no. I never really thought about it like that, to be honest. I don't know. I think, we'd been going probably 3 years as a business then. All we wanted to do was pay for our mortgages and our families, and that's kind of it. Like I say, I'm still not on as much money now as I want in the restaurants. It doesn't matter. It's about enjoying what you do, innit? So
100%,
we can keep building, we keep growing. But then you also realise, well, how long is this? How long will this last? Like, we've been doing it 10 years. We've gone from Roy Hodgson in charge to Liverpool winning the Premier League with Jurgen Klopp. Like, in another 10 years, is anyone going to give a shit if we're still talking about footy? Does anyone want to... I'm 37. Does anyone want to listen to a 47-year-old man talking about football on YouTube? Probably not. Because YouTube is for younger people.
It's mad and think of it like that.
So, like, what's the next step is probably for us, and how do you evolve that? And is that a case of taking a back seat and not being involved? I don't know, is the honest answer. We know that it's going good at the moment, but you just don't know with YouTube what's going to happen, do you?
No.
It might not be a platform in 10 years. I doubt that's the case.
Yeah.
But we've seen, like, MySpace went, didn't it? And that was massive for a few years and whatnot. So,
mate, you only have to think 2012, I think, or 2011, 2012, Instagram didn't even exist. Like, it's just mad, isn't it? Like,
have you found, interesting you saying that, we haven't even spoke about football, but have you noticed, it's a tough question, I guess, but because you were still growing yourselves as a business, but how much of a difference does it make having the team winning? For example,
massive. Massive.
Trying to build a fan channel when Roy Hodgson's knocking about compared to Jurgen Klopp, I imagine is a lot tougher.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I tell you what, we had more talking points back then. We won again. Great, won it? Yeah, absolutely, fucking fantastic. Yeah. And there's just a point where there was a point this season where I do this stats and tactics show, and I look into it. When you win every game, and it's like, fucking hell, there's nothing to talk about here. Like, at least when we used to lose, I'd be able to like, right, this could have been done better and all that type of stuff. Like, but my God, it's well better. But like, the interest's there. People care. People want to soak in that like euphoria and extend it. You know what I mean? I think we all had it. Are you a Liverpool fan, Tom?
Yeah.
So we all had it after the Champions League, didn't we? And where you're just searching out new videos. I've not seen that angle of that.
Yeah.
And then and you're just there, you're refreshing Twitter all the time. You're just soaking everything in. Yeah. Whereas if you lose, I'm one of them. I'll turn my phone off to Twitter. I won't even look at it no more when we lose because I can't be arsed dealing with the negativity that comes around it. And thankfully, and we've always said this, if our views go up when Liverpool lose, we're not making content for Liverpool fans anymore, and then we're doing something wrong. And thankfully our views go up when
that's
Liverpool win.
Point, that, yeah.
If it ever goes the other way, we're making it for other people, and that's not a good thing for us.
Yeah.
That is a good point. That, mate. What it's so interesting as well. We had David Downey on, who does the Blue Room, and he was saying that he had talks with guys from the Anfield Rap, and they kind of used to joke with him and said, mate, if your team was any good, you'd be fucking flying. And don't get me wrong, he's doing really well. I think the Blue Room's doing really well, and I don't listen to it. Obviously, I'm not a Blue, but I just always feel for him and think, God, imagine if Everton were flying. Like he'd be, his numbers would be going through the roof. I'm sure they are now because it's, by all accounts, it's a really good fan account podcast. But that's what I mean. It's just so interesting, isn't it, that we've
lucky
got thankfully
that's it. Yeah,
there's a fucking great team.
I think there's six clubs probably in England who can probably support a really big fan channel. Man United got Full-Time Devils, or whatever that's called now, Sheffield Paddock. They've got United Stand, so they've got 2 massive ones. Arsenal got a massive one. Chelsea have got about 5 or 6 different fan channels. Can't keep up with them. West Ham have got loads, funnily enough. But the difference is, I think there's a ceiling for how many people you're going to get. Now, my mate of mine runs Talk Norwich City. I actually think he's probably one of the best fan channels going. Like, the content that he gets, probably better than ours by a mile, actually, to be fair. Like, he has interviews with ex-players, players, journalists, everything. 3,000 views. Some of the best stuff you can watch on footy content on YouTube. But it's amazing, and he's brilliant, and he's been doing it since he was 16, and he's probably 23, 24 now, and he's been there ages. Doesn't get the love. No, not a lot of people know him. Jack Reeves' name is. He's unbelievable.
Yeah. But
there is a ceiling to that. Now, what there isn't a ceiling to is a rabid audience who will pay.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of them haven't tried that route, but I think if they did, they'd find that it would probably be more successful. Whereas I think a lot of them think we haven't got the views to get like a paywall or a Patreon or something, whereas actually there's going to be a core fans for every football, probably the same number.
Yeah,
who will
like
pay for
true
great
ultimate.
content.
It's so funny because even ours, like, I don't even ask Tom about the downloads, but on YouTube you see like they're only ever a few thousand and stuff, but then after each podcast we must get like so many messages of like, well, we had one, didn't we? A girl living in was it Amsterdam, was it? Living in Holland.
Just mad, like
saying like, just like, oh God, I love her, and just Scousers talking about like Scouse people and Scouse stories and stuff, and get it from Australia, from all over. And it's like, again, I didn't ask how many, but like you do feel that when there's like people who are like, oh, may I've listened to everyone, and it's a nice feeling, isn't it? Rather than looking at numbers and thinking, God, we only got X amount for that. It's when you're getting those messages and you're like, fucking, I got them. They're sitting in a fucking house in Australia missing home, and they're listening to us and us talking to Scousers. It's great.
But YouTube's so weird. Like with that guy getting 3,000 views, like we were just talking about this yesterday. Like there's so many videos we've put up of full, sometimes like just under 3 hours of a podcast, which is literally just the name of someone. Like we don't even like do anything with descriptions. I just fucking throw it up and like.
You really should.
Yeah,
you really fucking should, lads.
We're like, so sort of gun ho. But anyway, we'll come back to that actually. And for example, like we had an interview with Harry Finlay, who's won millions of pounds just through gambling. Sorry.
He's never worked a day in his life. 16 started gambling. That's him.
How much money did he have on the New Zealand game against?
Like
1.5 mil or something.
Yeah, a couple of mil or something. Maybe, yeah. Like he's lost a couple of mil.
Yeah, insane. We actually went down to his house, didn't we, to do it?
Yeah.
It was quality. So we put this episode up, and I didn't realise how important thumbnails are and like all that sort of lovely stuff. And the thumbnail has written word in it, and something like how to win millions or something like that. That just went a bit crazy, didn't it? It just gets like I don't know what views it's up to, and yet I feel like on YouTube you have to be so clickbaity, like just to get those views. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a weird old place. YouTube.
And I'm like, Tom's like the brains behind the type thing. I just kind of, the whole sketch was, I know some cool people. And I just was maybe so naive because I'm thinking like, I've got mates who like, Vicey, good mate of mine, got blown up. He's such a cool guy, done like 16 years, sniper in the Marines, got blown up fucking couple of times. He's like fucking this ninja. And because I know him, I'm just like, mate, his fucking story's awesome. He's funny as fuck. He's this, he's that. And I very naively just think people will watch that because he's cool. But again, if you just put it on YouTube, no one knows about him or his story, do they? Do you know what I mean?
No, and that's I think part of the issue is that YouTube's audience is really young. So on Liverpool content, if we have an interview with, I don't know, tough, like, so let's say it was Steve Nicol, for example. I've never interviewed Steve Nicol, by the way. That wouldn't do any good. Like, it just wouldn't. Maybe for an American audience, actually, because he's on the telly over there. But if you picked a player from the 80s who's not Barnes, Dalglish, Rush, the likelihood is it's not doing very well. If you picked a player from the 90s that's not Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, the likelihood is it's not doing great. You picked a player from today, it's going to bang.
Yeah, man,
because they don't know them, they don't remember them, they don't have any affiliation with them. I went to Anfield. They did one of them screenings. It was the first one they'd ever done on away game screening. It was the start of the season 2 years ago, I think it was. We drew 3-3 with Watford. I think we conceded a corner late on or something like that. And the legend was speaking, and everyone was talking in the fucking bar. And like, I met a journalist, funny enough, and we become mates after it. I just went and stood by a pillar, like this far away from
so you could listen to him.
So I could listen to him.
Yeah.
And then Chris Williams, a journalist, was there, and I was like, can you believe that no one's listening to him? They're just scanning a burger or whatever, and me and him just sat there, ended up having a conversation with him. People don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care. And you're just like, it's madness, like. But like a mate of mine, James Orcott, he's got a brilliant YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of his. Is it, what's it called again?
The Process.
That's it, yeah.
It's unforgettable as a series.
He's done one with Ian Holloway's good.
Yeah. And he did. Who's the boxer? Johnny. Forget the boxer.
Nelson.
Yeah, he's done one with him, and the idea is it's called The Process. I think you'd really like it if you've not listened to it.
I haven't, no.
And he talks about
they are good.
The process of how they got to where they are and what they do and everything. It's similar actually to what you're doing, isn't it? And the views are terrible, but he does a video doing a top 5 tier list of football clubs in the Premier League. Bang. And it's like, and he gets really wound up by it because he's put hours in. He knows, like, he's a great interviewer. He crafts it really well. He feeds off the other people. He knows exactly where he wants to lead them to and what he wants to get to, and he gets loads out of them. And I realised this when I did one with him, and I was like, fucking hell, I've opened up here, lad. I didn't even realise I was saying it, and you're just like poking and prodding, and he's amazing at it. And I just feel dead sorry for him because he puts hours of work into these things and you get no views.
Yeah.
But some fella playing Fortnite gets a bazillion views because he sniped someone or something. What the fuck, like?
It's mad.
What is that?
And makes a shit ton of money as well through Twitch or whatever. Yeah. Insane, isn't it? And like, so, I suppose like you mentioned, like players of today, and like I know you did a Klopp interview as well, didn't you? Was that last year?
Last summer.
How did that come about?
Well, we got one the year before on the summer tour, so Paul interviewed him a year before, and then we thought, like, we try and go on the tours whenever we can, and obviously we've both got young kids and
Is this
families.
like through the club then, or again
No,
just
we pay ourselves to go over. So Paul's been, I think, 3 times now, and then I think the one where Paul went, maybe I just had a second kid or something like that, and my second kid had been born, so I didn't go that year or whatever. So I went last year, so it was like, well, it's my turn to interview him if we get an interview, but you don't know you're getting an interview with him. Like, it's very off the cuff type of thing, and they'll say to you, look, be here at this time. So we were hoping that we'd get an interview, but we were leaving Boston a day before the team were. So if they turned around and said tomorrow, we'd have been flying to New York and we'd have had to change all our flights and stuff. Anyway, as it turned out, they got in touch about 10 o'clock in the morning and said, can you be here at 11 to interview him? I was like, yeah. Shit, we're 45 minutes away. Fucking jumped in like a fucking Uber, and I'm like writing questions like on the phone. I wrote them on the plane over there, but they said like, you got 20 minutes. I'm like, shit, I'm just crossing questions out, like, no time for that. But it was good because I didn't have time to get nervous or think about it in any way, shape or form. Like, so that was cool. Like, and then we went in there, and the Anfield Wrap were in the room was like split into 2. And the Anfield Wrap were already interviewing, like, we were tiptoeing past, and like you could see how made up they were, and then you could hear them laughing, and you could tell it was a boss interview, and like I was trying not to listen because I don't want to repeat anything. Like, that's why I don't listen to the Wrap no more. I've always said this. I think they're amazing. I think the content's brilliant. But I used to find that when I listened to it, I didn't know whether I was repeating points that I'd heard on there or they were my own, so I just had to stop listening to it because I felt like they're not my views anymore, and I'm not sure if they were my views or that it's been tainted. But yeah, so I tried not to listen to it in case we were doing the same things. Turns out they did this amazing thing where they spoke about that, like the parade and all that, and that 24-hour period, and that was a completely different direction to what I was doing. And then as I was in there, the Echo lads walked in, and they were like the next ones. So Jurgen came in, the Echo lads went out, we interviewed them and stuff. Unbelievable experience. Like, I was so fucking nervous.
Were you?
I was so nervous, mate. I didn't get nervous talking to people very often, like.
But he's like the daddy, and
he's
just
amazing.
Like fucking
unbelievable.
And was it as like, did it feel as good, like, as I can only imagine?
Yeah, it was boss, mate. Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm just there, and just like, because I stupidly said to him, I'm going to try and ask you questions you've not answered before, and he laughed like bullshit, like there's no way, because he was thinking, he even said during the interview, I remember this more than most, he said like, I'm sure we'll get on to transfers later, and I went, no, we won't. I'm not interested in hearing about transfers. It's just not what I'd rather hear about coaching and your staff and how you do it than if you're going to fucking sign someone. That's not me. Like, other people enjoy transfers and I hate it.
Yeah.
It's boring for me. Like, I'd rather... Because I always think football fans forget that your team can get better by being coached. Like, we just seem to think that transfers are the answer to everything, and they're not at all. Like.
No. He's a perfect example, and he was like a Robbo coming in, and he's one of the people, mate, that, again, I think, like, if you were going to have a dinner party, like, you could pick 5 people, he would be number 1, wouldn't he?
100%. 100%.
And I'm a bit like you, mate, in the sense of if I got to speak to him, I'd want to know more about his man management and how he treats people, and I'd probably just watch him, you know, if I was in a room, just how he interacts with someone. We had Jamie Webster on, actually, didn't we? Yeah. And he said when he went on the pre-season tour, he's just speaking to everyone. Klopp was, you know, how's the kids, how the grandkids, you know, and just to everyone. And I think as a leader, like, what a guy, do you know what I mean? And it's no surprise where he's took us now. But yeah, fucking jealous. I'm just having a little moment just thinking about what it'd be like to have.
He's just incredible, but he seems to have this like unbelievable memory for things as well, doesn't he? Like, he just recalls things, and it's just mad because he'd just be the best fucking prime minister in the world.
Yeah, wouldn't
he? Like, everything, he just seems to get everything that he puts his mind to, like all the shit that's going on in this country with the fucking... I hope you aren't Tories, like, but I very much doubt that you are, like, but fucking hell, like, you know what I mean? Just put Klopp in charge and just sort the country out, innit?
And the way he said, like, I think someone had asked the question, not just... I think it was just during coming up to lockdown about COVID. It was like... And it went around, you'll probably know it. And it was like... I'll let the expert, like, I have no idea, like, you know, like that, like, on it, like, if he doesn't know, he doesn't know, do you know what I mean? And
that, again, I fucking hate politics, but he seems to have, like, on the couple of ones I've seen, Johnson ropes, doesn't he? The old... Keir
Starmer,
that's his name. That one where Johnson went, he said, have you viewed the paper? And he was like, no, he said, have you read it?
I'm aware of the email.
I was like, I think I've retweeted that. I thought, go ahead, lad.
Fucking so many people are going into work the next day. We started that. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that, but no, I haven't actually fucking saw it. Are you fucking kidding me?
Funny that.
He's a fucking tit, Johnson. He
is a bellend.
Mate, are you like, how close are you with the club? Like, do you go press conferences? Like, can you like get pretty much access to whoever you want?
Not
with
really.
Him?
No, they're good with us. Like, really good, much better than they probably need to be. Like, we just, most of the time we just stay in our own little corner of the world and try and make sure that that's all right and stuff. Now occasionally we do go to the club and go like, can we do this or can we do that? Like, for example, this week we said, any chance of getting in Anfield on the 22nd? And they were like, no. And we were like, okay, sounds, but I have to ask, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's people in the club who like us and appreciate what we do. And I think the difficulty we had is that when we started, no one knew what we were or what our aim was or anything like that. So very difficult for a big institution to put trust in you that can't be borne out over years. Because, like, you know, I hate to name it, but Robbie from Arsenal fans, he's a really good mate of mine. But Arsenal and what's gone on with them this last week, they've distanced themselves from it. And I think clubs are always a little bit wary of fans because they don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And we're not the type of people who just go on and rant and rave. That's not our channel. It's because it's not us.
But again, mate, it's different. On to put the shoe on the other foot, though, we've been largely successful.
Yeah, true.
Like, I'm sure you wouldn't be, but I mean, if you're Arsenal, if you're an Arsenal fan, you are going to be pissed off how they've gone. So it's a difficult one, innit? You're trying to be a fan, but then if you're in bed with the club, you don't want to be too, like...
Yeah.
But then at the same time...
There's so many people say to us, like, you're on the payroll, and it's like, fucking, I wish we were on the payroll. Life would be a lot easier if we were on the fucking payroll, by the way. I don't actually wish we were, but loads of people say it, like...
Well, just in case, if you don't slag a certain thing off or something, or...
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Do you think, like, and that's the thing, people don't believe you when you're trying to speak to them and you're like, look, I'm telling you the truth. I don't think it's a big deal that we lost to fucking Arsenal because we won the league.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. Like, I can't help how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, it matters more to me that we're winning the league.
I've been the same, to be fair.
You know, but there's so many people out there that, like, oh, you don't care. I'm like, I do fucking care, mate. You know what I mean? But I just don't see that it's a big issue. And that's the thing, is like, you go out there and you say, look, he's shit, and then all of a sudden, like, I got one, I've been getting it on Twitter, the last sort of 3 weeks. I'm a racist because I gave Naby Keita a 5 in a game, and I every time. But this is what people say, and like there's a photo going around that gets used every time. Blah blah blah. I'm not asked. We've won the league. They make quotes up, and then they go Naby Keita a 3 because he's Guinean, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are you calling me a fucking racist? Like, you've no idea about me or anything about me. So I happen to think that someone played at the level of a 5 out of 10 in a game. I gave him an 8 last week. It doesn't make any odds to me, you know. But then people are out there going, you're a fucking racist because you gave Naby a 5. I'm like, I disagree with me on the number. Disagree with me on the player rating.
Yeah, but
there's no need to go there. Like, but the thing is, it's got fucking 500 retweets. Oh, have you seen that photo of me in the Everton shirt?
No,
I must have seen it.
I think I've heard you talk about it, or I've seen something of it.
Go and find it, yeah. Just
we allowed?
Honestly, just type in Chris Pajak Everton, and I bet you it comes up. Why fucking hell? Fucking hell, boys!
For anyone who's listening, says
Age,
Chris Pajak age, Chris Pajak wife, Chris Pajak Everton.
Done this? No.
No.
We'll save it for the paywall. We'll save it for the paywall. All right.
Everton. It was there. Oh, Chelsea there as well, yeah. There you go. So there I am.
There, yeah.
Is that you? Yeah,
that's me. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So now there's loads of people in Liverpool who think I'm a blue because of this photograph. So first of all, the shirt's fucking terrible, but the fag and the jeans are even worse.
Looks not like
you know what I mean? So that was 2006, I think. It was 2006 anyway. Oh, there's that photo that everyone see, the one with the Chelsea thing in. Click on that. Yeah, click on that one there. Click on that one there, mate. Right. Oh no, that's actually that is actually the video. So everyone takes that photograph and does the Naby Keita thing off the back of it. I got loads last night, last week, week before, all the time.
But it's like that thing, mate, that you going back to what we said before. I've found it myself, mate. If if someone, like in a group of friends and loads of them like you and they're all retweeting stuff and one person just isn't quite into you, rather than not being into you, if they're constantly seeing stuff, they think, God, this fucking fella, he's fucking everywhere, he's a fucking... And I've had it with me, like, if I've done something and it's got a bit of traction, and then people who maybe are a bit, I don't know, bitter or jealous or just don't like me for whatever reason, and then when if you like see those people, I'm kind of like, what have I done? Have I pissed you off or something? But they've automatically been riled up by seeing me doing something, and you're like, I don't think I've upset you, have I? And you haven't, but because other people like you and they've seen you doing stuff, and that then brings on the trying to mock you and trying to take the piss, and it's like, yeah, it's fucking hard to get your head around.
It's a mad thing. Like that Everton thing's, it's an annoyance more than anything. Like, fucking hell, look at some of the pictures of me here, fucking atrocious.
What was the reason behind the Everton top?
I lost a bet with my brother who's a blue.
Was it? Yeah.
So that was the AJ derby. Did we lose 3-1 or something like that? So the idea was, whoever won that derby,
98 or something, no, 99?
No, 2006, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. About 15 years ago, yeah. I think so, anyway.
Come on.
And so the loser had to wear the other person's shirt for the next game. So normally, back then, we were going to the pub and all that for the games. So I was like, I ain't going to the pub in that Everton shirt. So that's taken outside Paul's mum and dad's house. And Paul took the photograph to send it to my brother, probably by a fucking Bluetooth or something when we got close. You know what I mean? Or infrared on the phones, like get the phones close to each other. So that was proof, basically, that I'd worn the shirt for the game, and I did. And as soon as the game finished, I took it off and threw it to the floor. Now everyone thinks I'm a blue. Like, we were on stage in Kiev, and I was getting fucking rocks thrown at me from this group of lads. You're a fucking blue, and they were throwing fucking stuff off the floor at me. And like Tom Cassidy, who run it, come over and he's like, he's all right. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And I went down there and spoke to them, and there's like some lads starting on me, and I'm like, lad, I'm not a fucking blue. I've seen the photo. I'm like, yeah, you bet you say it's a bet. It fucking was a bet.
I've worn an Everton
What do you want me to do about it?
I wore an Everton top playing in Bootle Stadium once, and it was like a fucking, everyone happened to be in like blue tops or something. I had a fucking red one on. It was blues versus reds, and I went, oh fucking, And I just fucking threw it on to play footy because I wanted to play footy, and I'm not fucking arsed, like, do you know what I mean? Why are people
Well, I'm
being
a fraud now,
dicks?
and so the rumour was, going back a few years, that we started Redmen, I only turned into a Liverpool fan for Redmen, and it's like, scroll back up to the top.
You know, people have got too much fucking time with their hands making up
So
this.
see the photo next to it, next to the Everton one there?
Yeah, this one.
That's me as a kid in my Liverpool kit. But I always think it's like, people are convinced I'm a blue. Why is there only one photo? You know what I mean? Why is it the same photo that you're doing over and over? Like,
Mate, on that, mate, kind of branching off that kind of thing. You said it before, with, like, you know, you guys in the Anfield rapping kind of got a good relationship, but, and I like genuinely do listen to both. But like you said before, their maybe kind of fan base is maybe more Scouse and yours is more worldwide, which I can kind of see, to be fair. I think that's a fair analogy. How do you find, for example, dickheads like that who think maybe like some stuff that you do, which will no doubt be dead popular with Liverpool fans all around the world, but Scousers go, that's a bit wool, that. Like, have you had that before? Like, how do you find?
Loads. Like, to be fair, like, there was a lad who used to give a shit on Twitter all the time, but at least he came up to me outside the ground and spoke about it. And like, I'm all right with that. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen, I don't want loads of people coming up and having a go at me outside the ground. But at least he had the bottle to come up and have a word, and I'd be like, look, I'm still going to do it, mate. You know what I mean? This is what I do. I enjoy doing it. I actually love doing what I'm doing. So I'm not going to stop doing it. But there is that point where it's just I don't give a shit what they think no more.
Yeah.
Like, the random comments, they just annoy me now. Like, I don't take that home no more, really. I think something someone said to me, actually it was James Orcott, said to me, like, are they in that circle? Like, have you got it? Who's in your circle of trust, as it were, like that type of thing? And I'm like, well, my wife, Paul, my mum and dad, my brother, a couple of mates and all that. And I'm like, don't give a shit. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Like,
Fair one, yeah.
Like, you can't please. I've got 50,000 something maybe followers on Twitter, or 500,000 close to on YouTube. Subscribe. Can't please them all.
That's fucking crazy.
You know what I mean? It's just a physical impossibility. People follow you just because they dislike you, which is just what you were saying before. Why did they follow you just to dislike on you?
Yeah.
Well, they do. And once you realise that it really doesn't matter what they think.
It's so hard. It's so hard though to not completely give a shit, though, isn't it, John? Especially if you're doing it all the time. Like, it is very hard to be.
And that's why I was thinking more so again, because like I genuinely do think the content that you both do, you and Anfield Rap, is great. I was just more thinking of if things weren't going well and fans not liking it, certain things. Imagine if we were doing shit and like the shit you like the Arsenal Fan TV lads.
Yeah,
like
I do think that's the turning point. And, you know, you think about it, and like, I saw like the United stand lads getting fucking attacked outside the ground last season.
Really?
When United were going bad, like, you know what I mean? And you're just like, fucking hell, like, that's...
Because essentially they don't agree with certain opinions of...
Yeah, and they just think... I think a lot of, like, and I agree with this, by the way, a lot of Liverpool fans who are from the city don't like the idea of airing your dirty laundry in public. And I think that's what they think it is. And I think for some channels that actually is the case. Me and Paul are pretty much optimistic at heart anyway. So I like to hope that we wouldn't be like that. But we, you know, I think and we have been that. We've been there through Hodgson. We were in that Dear Mr. Hicks video where, you know, the video that was put on YouTube with the director of Goal, was it Mike, whatever. We were in that video, asking Hicks and Gillette to get out of our club, along with lads from the Anfield Rap and big, you know, Ricky Tomlinson was in there and other big guys. We were in there, and we were on those marches, and we recorded it at the time, but we weren't out there going fuck him off and this and that and all that type of stuff. So I'd like to hope we wouldn't be, but you can't say 100%. But
No,
I don't think we would be.
Yeah, of course.
It comes back to that thing as well, mate, the responsibility. Like 500,000 subs on YouTube.
I think it's 400 and something, but
that's mad when you think about it, isn't it?
But then it takes, so you think, we always say, like, it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. Like, you've been doing it now since 13 years, is it now? So that's a fucking long slog, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it takes, maybe, you could say maybe it takes 13 years to become an overnight success. You don't know.
I've heard that line on your podcast before.
Have you?
A certain comedian.
Chris Cairns?
No.
John Bishop?
John Bishop said it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He texted me today, actually, fucking asking me to go on his podcast. and he said, so he's got an in fact, I don't even know if I can say any of this, so let's just stop that story there. I'll tell you when we stop recording.
We can put it behind the paywall again.
It's on the Patreon, lads.
Mate, everyone's you lost your train of thought.
Yeah, go on, you.
No, it's just I think everyone's starting a podcast, aren't they? And it's good for people who are listening to podcasts ultimately. And I think the more content that out there is good for. I genuinely do believe that even though there's more podcasts out there, it's good for everyone, really. You know?
I'd agree with that. Like, I love the fact that, like, 20 years ago, funny enough, going back to what we were talking about before, of that thing, like, you used to watch the same programmes as everybody. 20 years ago, I knew who the biggest celebrity in the world was, and my ma knew who the biggest celebrity was in the world. Like, bad example, but everyone still knows who Beyonce is now. Like, if I ask my mum who do you think's bigger, Beyonce or PewDiePie, like, she'll never have heard of PewDiePie, but he's got, I don't know, 60 million subscribers.
Insane.
Like, that's ridiculous, but she's never heard of him because the world's just gone so niche.
Yeah.
And
it really has, yeah. It really has gone niche,
the technology, that, like, I won't, like, my kid doesn't want to watch adverts because that's the way that they've grown up already, and you can see that, and it's like, and I'm the same, I'm like, I'm not watching that now when I can fast forward the advert if I record it, and then I'll watch it in an hour, or I'll watch it on Netflix when it comes out.
Yeah.
And I'll do it in my own time that fits around my life, and everybody's done that, and that's why fan channels exist. It's why Talking Dead exists after Walking Dead. Like, that was a thing, wasn't it? Like, people used to watch Walking Dead and then they go and watch Talking Dead. Why? I don't understand, but that's what a fan channel is. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
It was just after the footy, you go and listen to or talk about the footy. That's all Talking Dead is after a TV show. And it's mad that everything seems to have that now, where I really enjoy that, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And also, like,
They do it on, like, Love Island, that, don't they? After it, like the Love Island after bits and stuff.
Yeah, they do
Big Brother did it and everything, back years and years, didn't they? But, like, people love that now, and if you're into it, why not?
Yeah. And also, like, ultimately, if we'd have started this, this thing, the Legit podcast, whenever you started 2007, then, the barriers to entry for you were pretty high. You'd said that you got tapes and things like that. The barriers to entry when we started in 2019 was a 200 quid camera and a few microphones, and that's it, which is brilliant. I know I've talked about it before, but it's brilliant for people like us that you can literally just start something like this, and who the fuck knows where it's going to end up. And there's so many examples where it's just gone mental for people who've started something like this, and
that's one of the reasons to get you on, because I love, again, I always talk about it, the passion for doing it. And it started from, you don't feel like you've got a job now, and I think for me and Tom, it's just always been, mate, fucking, that was cool, that, wanted speaking to them. And I've not unfortunately, it doesn't fucking bother me either way, but we've had loads of people come to us, haven't we, ask for advice on mics and stuff like that. And I only know one person who's got one going and stuck with it. And it's called, I'll have to think, it's basically about amateur football. I've listened to a few of them, they're brilliant.
Oh, they had Kev Ellis
they had Kev Ellis on last week. Yeah. It's a brilliant one. I've retweeted a few times what they do. And they messaged me and kind of got a bit of inspiration from it and started their own pod, and it's going really well. But I reckon must have had 20 people ask about it, and then, because it's a thing, isn't it? Oh, everyone's got a podcast, and then eventually the passion kind of goes, and you think, oh, well, not
when you realise that,
money,
like, it is quite fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, and also it's free. That's the weird thing. It's free, and it's still quite hard to get people to listen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's free.
Yeah.
It's a mad thing, that, isn't it? Like, I started an NFL one a couple of years ago, an NFL YouTube channel with my mate Steor, and like, it got to the point where I actually didn't have enough time to do it anymore, just with everything that was going on. Liverpool playing two times a week and all that type of stuff, and the way we did it, like, I watch so much American football, it's ridiculous. So much, like 5 hours worth a week, easy. Well more than I watch footy now, because it was a release from everything else that was going on, like, you know what I mean? So, and then we started doing it, I was like, this is boss, I'm really enjoying this. And we were getting like 150 views on a video, and that was fine, because it didn't matter to me, because like, you'd think it'd be the opposite, where it'd be like, I'm used to getting like 30,000, 40,000, sometimes 100, whatever, and getting 150 should be like, oh, that's crap. And I'm just like, I enjoy talking about it with my mate.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's still the same with Redmen today. is I still enjoy talking to Paul about the footy, and I still enjoy talking to different people about their experiences. My favourite show is a show we do on Redmen called The Newsroom, because I interview someone and I really try and stay out of it for the most part and just ask their opinions on it, because I love listening to other people talk about their life and where they are and how they got to where they are, and also their opinions on the footy, because I think it shapes you.
Yeah.
It makes you better for just
yeah.
listening to people and hearing what they're saying, rather than like, and I'm talking all the time, but talking all the time, mate.
Yeah. But also on that 150 views, I've said this before, the internet is such a crazy place where you see videos that have got 1 billion views, 2 billion views, that you actually do forget sometimes that 150 views, if you put 150 people into a room and talked, it's a lot of people. You know, when you get 40, 50, 60,000, whatever, you know, that is a stadium full of people that you're talking to, and you lose sometimes that realization because it's just numbers. It doesn't mean anything.
Don't make any sense in your brain, do they?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
you can't compute it, can you?
And I've started the Twitch channel, just playing Footy Manager, because I wanted to do it. A few mates are doing it, and everyone's doing it at the moment, aren't they? So like, I'll just play Footy Manager, I'm playing the game again, blah, 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 and I'm like, fucking like 30 people watching it. I'm like, this boss. I'm really enjoying it, like, because what I forgot, because Redmen got big, is that you're supposed to build a community around what you do, and that's what makes it part of being boss. And whereas when you've got like, we're really lucky, we've got like 2,000 people watching us live most days, you can't service them, and what you end up doing is almost broadcast TV, which is not what we wanted. The whole point of it was, it's broadcasts one way. What we've got the ability to do is two-way broadcast, where they're involved in what we do.
Yeah.
And so with the Twitch stuff, I've got 30 people who pretty much watch me most times I go on, but I know them. I know what's going on in their life. Like, they're actually nice, like madly like become mates. And so I said, like, does anyone want to jump on and we'll do this stream together? And so last week I was like, one of the lads who watches me just jumped on and played the game with me, and it was fucking boss. Like, and it was great. But I can't do that on Redmen anymore. It's too big. The comments come by too fast. You can't. You see names, but you can't remember everything about them.
Of course, yeah.
So that's another thing that you're able to do when you're like a little bit smaller and actually meet people and interact with them and service them, because they're looking for something out of it. If they just wanted to watch broadcast TV, they'd watch broadcast TV.
Yeah.
But they've got a chance to be part of it, which is really fucking cool when you do live content.
Yeah. No, it's a great show.
What's the how come the interest in NFL then?
My dad.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I was a baby, the NFL had just got into England, hadn't it, in the 80s, and like my dad has always been into. My dad watches all sports. Like he was a rugby player when he was growing up, and then like my dad can probably name your England's first 11 in handball. Like, he's one of them sport nuts where, you know, like, fucking hell, dad. And he was like, oh yeah, he was great back in the day, him on the left wing. And you're like, what are you talking about? Handball? Why? But he'll watch everything, like, and he's just one of them fellas. So he used to watch the NFL, and I just started watching it years and years ago, and then got into it in the 90s, probably when the Cowboys were going big, followed them, and then realised that they were essentially the Man United of NFL. I'm like, I'm going to pick another team. So I picked the team, and I've been watching it ever since. Like,
what's the team?
Minnesota Vikings. Which is mad, because I feel this mad little affinity to the city, even though I've never been there. Because my favourite band's lead singer's from there, and all of his songs are pretty much about Minnesota. So my favourite band are really like heavily linked there. I've got another punk band that I'm into that are from there as well. And my favourite like American sports teams from there, and I feel like
to get the family
I need to get over there.
Yeah.
I need to get over there. Like, I feel it. Like, you know, people talk about pilgrimage to Anfield. Like, I need to go to Minnesota, like, for some fucking reason. Like,
yeah, it's massive now, the NFL, isn't it?
Huge, yeah.
I only know in New York is New York Jets, and then Patriots. They're quite
Patriots are the new Man United.
All I know about it is that they're all on a fucking shit ton of money. That fella's just signed a contract, and making him the first billionaire or something.
100 million. 110 year.
Yeah, he's over 10 years. He was a billionaire, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I actually went to
Pat Mahomes, his name is.
What's his name? Sorry.
Patrick Mahomes.
Fucking hell.
Maybe the third, actually.
I went to a thing down in London. It was around like when I was just coming out the Marines, and there was loads of stuff going on. It was this event, and without like name dropping, there was like fucking Prince Harry there and all them there and stuff like that. And anyway, this fucking huge fucking bloke, and I got chatting to like one of the American Marines or something, and ended up getting chatting to this fucking huge bloke. Turns out he was like super famous American footballer who was on like fucking 10 million quid a week or something, like fucking, don't know, he was on a lot of money anyway. And he was dead nervous because he thought everyone would know who he was. And I was like, fuck me, I haven't got a fucking clue, you know. And he was just so
Who was it?
Fuck knows, mate, I don't know. I ended up at, this is how not interested in NFL. He couldn't get over that. No one knew who he was. I was like, mate, no one fucking knows who you are here.
Did you say it like that?
No, because I was just talking to him like this, and I was like, so you dead famous, are you? And he was like, well, yeah, well, only in the States, clearly. And I said, who's the most famous fella you've got on your phone? And it was who on Friends is he's a big actor, but he's been on Friends. He was Phoebe's boyfriend, Mike. What's that guy? What's his name?
I can't.
The one who went to
He's in
not Mongolia or something like that, was it?
No, him.
Oh,
Paul
shit.
Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Hell, yeah.
Yeah. That was his most famous mate, he reckons. He was like, I don't know, maybe, do you know Paul Rudd?
He is a massive actor.
Yeah.
Fucking Ant-Man.
And then I googled the American footballer fella, and he was real and all. I can't remember his name now. But that's
crazy,
my only thing in NFL I know.
Who was that guy? Sorry, the billion. What was his name again?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes.
Yeah, Sally straight away comes up.
So here we go. Kansas
10-year
City
deal,
Chiefs.
100 million a year, I think it is.
100 million a year.
I think so, yeah.
Like, what the fuck do you do with that?
Right, let me just type in pay. 24 as well.
You know, if I...
Yeah, he's just won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, if you go to news instead, the highest paid man in sports history, 10-year contract extension.
Do you know what I'd do if I got paid that? I would get a calculator and I would divide how much money I made, and I'd work out how much money I made per second. That'd be the first thing I'd do.
503 million.
3 million, that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I'd do that. I remember doing that with Bill Gates years ago when it came out, and like working out. I'm like, fucking hell, the time it's taking me to do this sum, he's made like fucking $3,000 there. Like, you know what I mean? I'm using a calculator, and it's like, well, it's insane, isn't it? Yeah. Like,
there was you've just reminded, when we were talking about the lottery before, I don't know if there was a Channel 4 program where it follows people who have, so there's when you call up Camelot and you say I've won big time the lottery, usually they'll send someone out to come and meet you. So there was 2 or 3 people that work at Camelot that go out to meet people who've won the lottery. And obviously, for obvious reasons, they couldn't show their faces, because if you saw someone rocking up with that, do you know what I mean? You'd know if they turned up next door, then you'd know they won the lottery. And this guy would say, it was obviously his face was blurred, but he was saying a story where this guy had won.
Oh, you've told me this.
It was like 35 million or something massive. And he came round when his missus was out. Right, so this guy from Camelot came round when his missus was out. And to this day, apparently his missus still doesn't know he won 35 mil.
Fuck off.
Yes.
How?
What a legend.
He's just literally just not mentioned anything.
I can't even hold my water. If I buy someone, if it's your birthday next week and I bought you a present and I come and see you for a cuppa, after 20 minutes I go, I've got you something for your birthday, do you want it? I can't. To be fucking...
Well, the worst thing is that, like, if she's still slaving her ass off every, like, coming back worrying about money.
Imagine if she had a job that she really hated as well, and he was just there, just letting her crack on.
That's mad, isn't it?
It is bad, that, isn't it?
I think my wife would divorce me just for doing it if she could know that she gets half the money. Like,
it's a good point, actually.
Mate, going back to you for a second on what you've interviewed and that, mate, who is the favourite interview you've done, would you say?
Klopp by a mile.
Klopp
by a mile. For that type of thing, yeah, absolutely. The favourite video was probably one we did with Coutinho, Sterling, Markovic and I, where we got them doing dizzy penalties.
That's in Melwood, isn't it? He's done that.
Yeah, that was fucking belter, like, absolutely belter, because Ladbrokes were sponsoring. No, was that Ladbrokes? Might have been Ladbrokes. This was before that deal, though, summer before. And I think it was Ladbrokes. Oh no, Vauxhall, sorry. And we were like, they get player appearances because they were an official sponsor of the club. And we were like, okay, can you save 4 up? And we maybe do one video with 4 different players. And we walked in and we didn't actually know who was going to be there. And it was like Coutinho, Sterling, Markovic, and I'm like, fucking hell, that's amazing. Like, so the idea was we were going to do a Xabi Alonso challenge where you score from the halfway line. And I can't remember if we turned up or when we were supposed to do it. They basically cancelled it and went, no, they can't kick the ball that far on this day because of the sports science, which is something I just didn't know. Like, they don't let them kick the ball half the length as hard as they can on certain days because obviously don't want to get injuries and recovery and all that type of shit. Like, so the coaches literally said, "Nah, you're not doing it." So we went back like a week later and said, "Okay, can we do this?" Thinking they'd probably say no. We're not allowed to get the lads are allowed to kick the ball far. We're going to spin them, ask them to spin around the ball 25 times and take a penalty. But they said yeah, and we did it, and it's just fucking brilliant. It was such a good laugh. Like, and I always say this, like, Sterling gets a bad rap. He made that day for us. It was about 3 months before he left, and he was brilliant. And he even turned around to the press officer at the end and said, "Them lads do anything again, get my name first on the list. I'll come and do it." Like, but he, you know, when. Like, we've interviewed people, and for the most part, I'd say 95% have been sound. But there's that 5% who can't be arsed being there at that point.
Yeah.
And there was maybe a hint of that happening, and Sterling was like, "Come on, let's get into this. Like, you know, come on, this is well better than what we normally have to do." Like, type of thing. And he just got into it, and he got everybody else into it. So we did Dizzy Penn's American Shootout and another video that never got released because Sterling left and we couldn't get it through.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Basically, Paul just screamed in all the players' face and screamed at Sterling not to go and all this type of stuff. And while we were waiting to get the video released, he went to Manchester City, but we knew it was about to happen, like, when we were recording, and we had to edit him out of one of the videos as well, completely, like. And it's funny, like, because you see the first one where he's in it, and then the second one he's not in it at all, like. And it's just brilliant, like. It was just so
mate, I met him for the at the England stuff. Spent about 24 hours with him, mate, and he's fucking such a nice lad, like, really, really nice guy. And that's the horrible thing, I think, with football and football fans. It's like tit for tat, isn't it? It's like, one Liverpool fan. It's not even. It's the dickhead. You look at the firework incident at the Live building. You can't brandish a whole fan base because of one dickhead with a firework, but then it becomes tit for tat, and it's like, oh, look what you've done there. It's like, fuck off.
It's the whataboutery, isn't it? What about this? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's a fucking stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
What about this, though? Or, you know, fucking this, Hillsborough, fuck off. You know what I mean? Or like, you know, Heysel, and it's like...
It's fucking horrible, isn't it? Yeah.
When's this end?
Yeah.
Like, it's bullshit.
And because you're saying before about you should have a kind of verified account on Twitter, it's just fucking dickhead people. Like, you would never have a dream of saying it in a room like this or anything like that. And you think, why the fuck are you just being a knobhead? That's all it is, though, isn't it?
100%.
And you have these opinions of people all the time that you've never met. So I understand it, by the way. And, like, you know, I see someone on a telly programme and I think, oh, he's a tit. The difference is I wouldn't go on Twitter and tell him.
Oh, no.
I know, who's got the time to be bothered anyway to, like, just to write, like, nonsense on to someone, like, to actually have that.
I think with football as well, mate, people don't realise that, you know, like, Luis Suarez fucking killed me when he went. Like, but I don't know whether it's an age thing, but has Luis Suarez got any affiliation to fucking Liverpool as a city? No. Does he care about people in fucking Bootle who pay 40 quid every... No. Let's be honest, he doesn't. So when he leaves, it shouldn't be the biggest shock of your fucking life that a guy from Uruguay who grew up in fucking a shanty town has come and made all his money, and his missus fucking wants to live in Barcelona. Why is that such a big fucking... Why is he a cunt for wanting to go? I know as a football fan I'm hurt, but you know, when you see, like, it's mad, isn't it?
I think you're right, mate. I always say to you, they're all here just for a bit. Jurgen's here just for a bit.
Yeah.
As great as he is, and he might stay around, he'll only be at the club 10 years max. The owners are only here for a bit. The only people that are staying and in this for the long haul are the fans. Everyone else is going to go. Like, in my life, we're on the 3rd ownership group, I think. You know, we're on the, 10th manager. Every player's changed. Players aren't going to stay forever. They might stay around and take a little paycheck for being a legend and all that. Fair play to them if they do. Might stay around because they love the city. Fair play to them if they do. Jurgen might stay around because he might like it. Or he might go home because he prefers it there. You know, it's just, we're the only ones who are going to be here forever. And we can't change that. But yeah, like that Suarez thing's mad because like that's a perfect example of everything that's wrong with football fandom. Because I was on the wrong side of that argument. Like I backed Suarez because he was a Liverpool player. What a tit.
Oh, with the
racism and the Everest stuff, and it's like clearly now with the fullness of time, something bad happened.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was entrenched in, no, Suarez is a Liverpool player, he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's a terrible position to be in. And it's not just footy, it's everything in life. It seeps into politics, it seeps into everything. We're all entrenched in these positions, in our own little social bubbles, refusing to believe that we could possibly be wrong.
Yeah.
Why? Because he plays for Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's not a racist because he plays for Liverpool, or he never said something racist because he plays for the club that you like. Because we hold Liverpool up to be this amazing beacon of hope and light.
Yeah.
It's a fucking business,
So
unfortunately.
true, mate,
As much as we want it to be this amazing social enterprise, we want it to buy the best players. We want it. Fans kick off when we don't buy people. We want them to spend 400 grand a week on players, and yet we also want them to not make money and just, you know, how can we do that and still be a socialist enterprise that we all want them to be? Unfortunately, football is the worst type of capitalism in the world. Like, it's fucking dog eat dog. They don't even care about the grassroots. They don't care about anyone in the leagues below. They don't care about anything other than themselves and reaching the pinnacle and making more money. Why? To make more money. Why? To make more money. It's the worst model. The American sport, for being the worst capitalist culture in the world, has the best sports model, because at least there's a fairness to a salary cap and a draft system where you can get players in for free at the start of every season.
Oh, wait, all right.
So, like, if you finish 32nd in the league, or the worst record, you get the first pick of a player coming out of college.
Do you really? Yeah.
You'd
be fucking wounded if you were that college player, though.
Yeah, no, but they're not at the same time. Most of them go.
If I'm the hottest prospect coming out of fucking college, I'm fucking Norwich sign me. I'm fucking wounded, yeah.
You would be, but I suppose you would be. But like, also like an elite sports mentality might think, I'm the guy to fucking go and do this, and they've also grown up with that's the thing that's done, which is different than us.
Yeah.
And then there's 30...
Are you talking about? Sorry, mate. Are you talking about NFL college football in America? Yeah.
So does the whole NFL team then change every year?
No, obviously they have contracts. They have like I think it's a 65-man squad or something like that.
Right,
like,
okay.
you know what I mean? But then they bring in like probably, I think there's 12 rounds of the draft. So you get a minimum of 12 players. You can swap draft picks.
Oh, okay.
There's no like mad transfer fees like England, and you've got a salary cap, so everyone's can only spend the same on salaries. So that's like a mad little model that they've got going on, but it should mean that it's fair. Yeah. So you shouldn't have teams that go and win it every fucking year, even though the Patriots have done that.
Well, Carragher made a great point, and he said, you know, he liked how, you know, investments have come in, like, for example, when Abramovich come in and broke up the United Arsenal thing, and then obviously City have come in of late with thinking, and hopefully maybe Newcastle and Everton, he said. And I agree with him in that point, because you don't want the same team winning it every year. But it fucking did piss me off this week, as I thought maybe it did for you guys, the Man City financial fair play. And it didn't only piss me off because they've clearly, in my eyes anyway, done something wrong. But it just puts this thing up of just this corruptness. And I done a tweet about it. It was in the same week where Trump got his fucking mate off. His mate had done like, should be doing 10 years, and Trump just intervened and said, oh no, he's alright.
Did you not see that? No, I didn't see that, no.
Some fella,
he's alright.
He's been in the court like 15 fucking accounts or something. Was facing up to 10 years, and Trump just went, nah, he's not. And it was to come in the same week, and I just listen, whether Man City did or didn't, who no one will ever know. But that's what I hate about the world. It's just this thing of more money, more power, and it's like that.
More
like
problems.
Who sang that? Who was it? Biggie.
Was it Mace?
Was it?
Puff Daddy?
Biggie, wasn't it?
Oh, Biggie as well, yeah.
But like,
yeah,
it probably is more money for them, more problems for them at the end. But it's just, as someone, a fucking little scallywag from Bootle, you look at it and you just go, come on, that's fucking wrong, that.
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone looking at it and going, taking a piss a bit there? Do Do you know
me?
what I mean?
I'm a fucking footy fan like that. No. You're asking, looked at me for an answer. Do you know, Tom?
No.
George,
Jurgen probably fucking knows, though.
George Carlin said something. He's one of my favourite comedians, and he turned around and he said, we've got to stop blaming like dodgy politicians. He said, all politicians are like the best versions of us. It's people. It's like footy fans who are dickheads. It's the people. It's people who are the fucking problem. Just dickhead people who end up going on to being Liverpool fans and then making Liverpool fans look like dickheads, or it's dickheads politicians going on to run our country. It's people at the end of the day, isn't it? And that's my negative view.
I'm a proper socialist, like fucking really left wing and all that type of stuff. And I think there's a point where people have just got to look after local communities again. I don't see the point of a centralised government at this point. Like, why? Why should you decide how we spend our money? And you know, if there's money in the city, let's say taxation for an example, and I've not really thought this through properly, like, but you know, if we pay our tax, why don't we spend our tax in this city on our people? Why should the government be able to turn around and go, no, that comes to us. You get a little bit over there. You voted for us.
I guess it comes down to, though, if there's a town 50 miles down the road, though, that aren't that big, it's not very socialist, is then to fuck
it
them
shouldn't
off.
cost as much to manage a town that's smaller than bigger, should they?
Is that what they do? Do they do that in the States? No,
I don't know.
Like with state level
They've got
funding,
yeah, 'cause
like
federal government haven't they?
It's a weird setup, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
because that was one of the things about when they were saying about defunding the police or something, but it was like it's
one
not,
state done it or something. Didn't
it was like it couldn't be done at a federal. Like, it had to be done. It was all weird. It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I don't know. I don't think it works for now and how we are as a country. I'm not sure it works. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, by the way. I just think there is probably someone much cleverer than me could come out with a better way of fucking doing government, because that was decided 200 years ago. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good point,
like the fucking fella who invented the stapler, lads. Come on, why aren't we updating that? It's shit. Like, it's fucking 2020, lad, and I can't go through 5 pieces of fucking paper without breaking. Like, why do we persist with this broken fucking object?
System.
That's a great argument, that, though, isn't it? Why have we updated, you know, certain things, but then things like that govern us, we've just left for years and years? Like, that's the whole argument for the American gun law, isn't it? Always in the Second Amendment. What? That was written fucking 300 years ago when there was no such thing as a machine gun. It was like a one-shot rifle or something. Yeah. It's like your ability to bear arms. And people are holding on to that. Well, that means I can go and buy a fucking rocket launcher because you can bear arms. Nah, that's not quite why it was written, mate. But
Yeah.
Really, I just want them to sort staplers out, lads.
Staplers, yeah.
Fucking do me head in, mate.
What about a see-through toaster? That would be cool, wouldn't it? And then you can see where your toast is done.
It's a fucking genius idea.
fucking hell, mate.
Fucking genius idea.
Let me see if we've got them.
Just
on here.
no, thingy that out, Tom, because we'll roll with that, don't we?
Pattern that.
Yeah, as in we'll block it out of the podcast so no one can listen to it. Or we'll pattern it before it goes
The
live.
fucking see-through.
Remember Joe Rogan's on that?
UK, it's been done.
I'll cancel it.
It's fucking genius.
1,800 quid from Harrods.
Wait, that's on Amazon, yeah? That's just like literally. But I suppose you know the ones you get in the hotel where you put the bread in and it goes through
rolls,
that fucking.
What a great shout that, Tom. Unlucky lad.
Genius, that, mate.
Unlucky.
Feel for you there.
Couple of years too late.
That could have been, you know, to make millions. That's a YouTube video title, isn't it? Fucking the see-through toaster.
And you know what, I'm not going to lie, for a good 5 seconds I was going, we fucking made it here, lad.
You mean me?
We'd have had to go on thirds on that.
Yeah.
That's funny, lad. I'm gutted that someone's done that. I thought you really had the chance there. I mean, have you got the technical know-how to build the see-through toaster? Who would you have gone to? What was the next stage of the plan?
Jesus, look at that. Bugatti actually make a toaster.
What do you do? I've always thought about this. What do you do? It's got to be a pretty honest person you go to. If you've just got this belter idea, it's got to be a good lawyer or a good, you know, trustworthy person who you go, listen, lad,
I've no
got
idea.
this fucking...
I've never had a good idea in my life, so I've never been there. Look at the state of that.
Oh, it's quality.
That's a toaster, yeah.
Yeah.
You sure?
Positive.
Looks like a fucking iron.
What's the...
Anyone who's listening, this podcast has gone way off topic. We're looking at see-through toasters for anyone who's listening. I'm not
it's a
watching.
fucking Bugatti see-through toaster, lad.
Yeah, fair one.
It's probably, that's better than my car.
Thermal conduction.
A Bugatti, that's what I've learned today. A Bugatti makes a fucking toaster.
If that's in your car, though,
Not
if you get that in a car, I still couldn't afford it, but
1,800 quid for a toaster, mate.
Is it really?
Hell.
Is it a 2 slice or a 4 slice?
Yeah, that's
Two.
where...
Two?
It's only 2.
1,800 quid for a 2 slice toaster?
Yeah.
That's crazy, that.
Colour is clear. Yeah. Makes sense.
You're going to have to clean that quite a lot as well. I was saying that if you're spending 1,800 quid, someone else is cleaning that fucking toaster for you.
yourself.
Yeah,
100%. Fucking mad, that.
What a way to end it.
Yeah.
A fucking see-through toaster. I did not think we'd talk about this, mate.
No, I didn't. But to come back to your question about people thinking of ideas, I actually think you could put so many ideas out there, but no one would actually do it, follow through. Because it's all like, I think people like Uber. Like, who would have thought of like doing, probably there was the ideas before that, but no one thought, or Google or fucking whatever.
That's what the technology allows though, isn't it? Like Uber sell all their maps and stuff now, like don't they? Is it Apple buy their maps and stuff now, do they?
Is it, yeah?
I don't know, I heard
There's been some great things though, hasn't there? It's like a contrary argument to it, and it's like, I think Wikipedia it wasn't, it's like, this idea, if you'd said to someone like, we're going to create an encyclopedia, but that people can add info to yourself, you'd be like, wouldn't you? How the fuck? Because surely you'd need one person to check it all, and yet there's Wikipedia is self-fulfilling, whatever you want to call it.
It's long gone in the days of copying and pasting out of Encarta 95.
Oh god,
for me fucking GCSEs.
remember that
and
Encarta 95? Fucking hell.
Fucking long time ago, that shit, isn't it? You wouldn't know what Encarta is, would you?
I don't know.
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, fuck off, Tom.
I was born in 92.
It's like I'm 88.
Yeah, Encarta. I know Paint. Is it anything like Paint?
No, it was an encyclopedia. Shit, you were 88?
Yeah. When
Fucking
are you?
hell, 82. I was 82, right?
Did you ever have a CD, did you, Tom?
Yeah, mate, yeah, I had a floppy drive.
Got a floppy one?
Yeah, 3.5 inch.
Did you ever get a hard drive?
Mate, thank you so much.
If you aren't on Redmen TV, get on it. They are. I'm not just saying that because you're here, mate. Your content is great, and
Nice one, mate.
it is a belter, so get on it. But it's, mate, genuinely, it was fascinating today about the story, about how it come about. I know we've only talked a little bit about footy, but... And I think as well, for any budding podcasting, mate, you know, here's an example here that, you know, you can make it work.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
lads.
thank you, mate.
I've massively enjoyed that. Like, good fun.
Oh, good, mate. Thank you, mate.
Boom.